What is going on, YouTube? It's the brain of the mainframe, Nile, Scala here, and yes, we are back for another exciting week of crowdfunding comics. Mr. Tucci, how we doing, brother?
Mr. Scala, I am doing pretty terrific. I can't see myself, so am I centered?
You are centered, my friend.
Huzzah. Hello, everybody, and greetings, crowdfunding centurions and crusaders all across the fruited plain and this dark blue world we call our Earth. Say hello to my son Matthew back there playing games. Say hello, Matthew. All right.
Hey,
so
champ.
tonight, there you go. I can see myself now on the TV. So tonight we've got one heck of an episode, don't we, Nile Scala?
Yes, we do.
I believe we've got an Irishman with us tonight. And he's not only a regular Irishman, but he's one who's gathered an elite force, and they have hunted down some hideous evils, I guess we could say. They've blasted their way through cavernous dungeons, moving down disposable minions at their will, and then kicking back with a large mug of beer, not my beer, and washing off the blood from their boots. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome the one, the only, Mr. Scott McCullough. What are you, laddie?
Scott, welcome to the show.
Scott, welcome to
Hey, guys.
How we doing
Good
tonight?
to see you.
So is that how we say it, Scotty? Do we say McCullough?
McCullough. Yeah.
So
I mean,
you're...
it's not just Irish. It's Irish Scots, but I'm such a mud. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, but you know what, my friend? You're a scoot and be proud of it. Be proud of it.
Be proud of it.
Be proud of it.
What the hell?
I don't know. I don't know anything about that.
What you think of that, laddie?
Oh, I don't want to inflict the world with my terrible Scottish accent.
Well, we're doing it with ours, though Nile Scala does a really good John Lennon. But maybe we should say that for another time, since we're just wasting.
That's Liverpool, right?
It's Liverpool, yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes. My family is not far from there. My family is from Wolverhampton.
Oh, right. I know where that is.
In the Midlands, and but I really wish I was a Scot. And then I've got a real Scotsman here, and he's not proud of it. He's not proud of it, Matthew. Not proud of it. You're a Scot. Be proud of it. All right, Scott. So I'm sorry. I'm going to let Niall talk a little bit. This is your first Indiegogo campaign, right? And you are going into demand in the demand phase with DoorKickers, and you are at close to $6,000. So my friend, please.
We extended for 30 days before in demand.
Excellent.
Oh, nice.
And that's what you should do. So for our 46th episode, now I can't believe we've been doing this for
46, man.
Yes, pretty great. Would you mind telling those out there who may not be familiar with you, may not know you, tell us a little bit about yourself, please, and your project.
Yeah, give us your origin story, Scott. How did you even get into comics? Let's start with that.
Well, let's start with that Scott's. How about this? Can we just stop that Scott is a United States Army veteran? So we salute you, sir. Thank you for your service, brother. And we got to get that out there. So,
and let's also start off that I think Scott, you're a married man, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I think your wife's one hell of a decorator because I love that color scheme behind you.
You know, I do too. We're actually gonna paint what was our kids' playroom. And turn it into a guest room. And we're looking at something like a federal blue-gray or a gunmetal blue-gray. And so, but we can get into decorating later on. We're sorry, Scott. So please, my friend, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Before I was ever in the military, I was a comics fan. The thing that really drew me into comics was G.I. Joe. Larry Hama's G.I. Joe that was my first real touchstone. My dad was in the Army, so the Army was something that I kind of grew up with. And, man, I tell you what, that hooked me. And then what really did me in was the Uncanny X-Men. So Chris Claremont's Uncanny X-Men. And so that was the early 80s, 81, 82. And then, it was just all downhill from there. It was an addiction.
Nice. And so who was drawing those X-Men that you were picking up?
That was like right when Dan Green and John Romita Jr. He had just come on. I guess it was like in the 170s. And that art style of his was, it seemed like a lot of guys were trying to look like George Perez, and you could see if you look at his stuff back then, it was a little more Marvel-y generic, but he very quickly got into that, John Romita Jr. style, and I just loved it, and so it kind of spoiled me for a lot of the other mainline, Spider-Man or the Avengers. I mean, the art in those books was just a little too plain for me,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. Yeah, he was.
And then, well, no, go ahead.
No, he's one of my favorites. I mean, he's just brilliant, Romita. And
Absolutely.
and you look at like just how dynamic his art is and his storytelling, and he draws I think he draws like 14 books a year.
Yeah, he does.
That's how prolific he is. He's a machine.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I really, after he left the X-Men, I didn't follow him to what he did next. But when he started doing Punisher later, man, I really got into that. Because his style had gotten a lot grittier by then. I think there's some of that Frank Miller influence, and so it was just, it was a great time to be in the comics because you had all these unique voices that were putting their, what they had to sell out there. And and then of course, going into the late 80s, you had, that's when you started having the Image guys come up in all those books. So it was just a real exciting time.
Absolutely. And I loved about Romita's Punisher. Remember how like broad he made him and just tough looking? Remember his nose?
Oh yeah.
Like he looked like he got in a million fights, and you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you could see the breaks in his bone. There's just nothing but like resoldered cartilage in there. I on the other hand don't have that problem because I've been lucky enough not to get my nose broken. But
Same here. I always wish I did get mine broken, and then they can make it smaller.
Yeah, but that's not. See, let me tell you something. That's not necessarily true. And I know we're jumping off subject here, but I've had my nose broken 3 times, and I had this cutest little nose, looks like my son, and then he broke his nose about a year ago. Probably this weekend. It was a year ago. So I had an 80 on this side. My nose is crooked this way, and I had an 80 or an 85% blockage on this side. So I have a friend of mine who's an actor. And he went in and he had his doctor say, yeah, he needs a deviated septum, and gave him a nice, small, handsome nose. With me, they made my nose actually bigger. They actually built up this side of my nose. They didn't even straighten it out. Wow. So I don't know if that's going to happen for you, Scala. I don't know. You might have a Punisher nose. Yeah.
Look at that thing. Look at that thing. It's crazy.
It's hideous. Hideous.
I poke my wife's eye all the time. Can't even give her a kiss. Unbelievable.
But...
I'm too pretty to have a broken nose.
Yeah, you're too handsome and young. You don't want to have a broken nose either.
No. Not as young as you think, brother.
You look young, so God bless you. You should, thank mom and dad for that one.
Amen.
But Nile, and you're too handsome to break your nose and get it straight. So.
Stop.
And you're too old to get into bar fights with Scotch-Irish guys.
Well, they shouldn't mess with me, and they wouldn't get hurt. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Let me pound to that one.
All right. So listen. So this is your first Indiegogo project, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us about yourself. What made you want to actually publish your comic book? Publish. DoorKickers 1. It's Operation Breezy Dream. Right?
Mm-hmm. So Breezy Dream came out back in 2015. That was a 10-pager.
That's on Comixology now, right?
Yeah, we're pulling that off so that there's no confusion, and plus so there's a little bit of a story behind that. So the company that published it, Space Goat, kind of notorious because after they started doing comics, they got into the gaming business, and then that didn't work out for them. So when they dissolved the company, all that stuff is still up on Comixology, and there's nobody at the helm to pull that down. So I've gotten in touch with some folks that can help me get that pulled down. So because if you buy it on Comixology, I'm not getting a penny of it.
Really?
Yeah, you gotta get that off. For those of you out, because we're not on Comixology. We've had some talks with them about getting on it. So that's a virtual, that's like the web comics, right? Like a digital versions of books.
Yeah, it's a
That's
digital
my
comic book
understanding.
store.
Yeah.
I've never used it though. I mean, as a reader or anything.
I do have a subscription to it, and my wife yells at me because I do not use it. But yeah, it's a digital comic book store, and you go there and you just buy the digital version of the book, which is actually owned by Amazon now.
Yeah.
Well, Amazon's taking Scott's money, so we got to get that book off.
Yep. So anyway, I knew one of the guys involved with Space Goat, and I had some ideas for some books, and we just kind of, you know those friends of yours that you talk to via email every 2 years or so.
Yeah.
So we bumped into each other again, and he said, "Hey, do you have any story ideas? Because I know you're a heck of a writer, because I knew him back in the '90s." And I was like, "Yeah, I've been working on something." And so that was DoorKickers, and I kind of pitched it to him, and then he said, "This is great. We'll publish it for you. We'll put it in this anthology we're doing." And so I did the 10-page book, and then we had plans to do other stuff, but the downfall, the business cycle and bad choices and whatever, I wasn't involved in any of that stuff. And so it just never happened. I just recently got everything back, like all the assets and everything like that from DoorKickers back. And so I'm back in business. And, I was also getting into Comicsgate stuff, just watching Zach's videos and Ethan's videos and things like that last year. And, just the more I thought about it, the more I was like, DoorKickers is not dead. It's very alive in my head. I don't know why I don't try to bring it back. So, and I think the Comicsgate timing and everything has been perfect. And I found a very supportive movement here of creators and fans. And, that's the thing that, has been the biggest and most rewarding part of being involved in this stuff is just all the people that are involved. And, they're not, I hate hearing the bad things that, people say about Comicsgate, because everybody I've met, when it comes down to it, they're just good, decent people. Some are crass and callous, jokesters and things like that. And, some guys are more serious and introverted, and it's okay. If you have a classroom of people in third grade, some of the kids were jokesters and some of the kids were, or the nerds, but ultimately everybody got along and played at the same time out in the playground. So, that's what I love about Comicsgate. When it comes down to it, everybody's here for the same reason. They just want good comics, and they don't want people to tell them, what they can and can't read.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree with that, man.
And that's the thing you're going to learn about, like when you get into independent publishing, and that's what you are now. You're a publisher too. So
yeah.
Well done, buddy. Welcome to the fold. Is that you're going to meet jerk-offs everywhere. You're going to meet guys that don't like you. You're going to meet guys that, like you said, that are crass or say, stupid things, and you might cringe, but that has nothing to do with you creating your own books. You know what I mean? You be your own person. You know what I mean? And you just do your books and don't get involved in any of the crazy drama. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And it might be impossible at certain points, but it's like everything else. It's like in the movies. It's like in the arts. There's a lot of different personalities, and especially now with this whole thing with the crowdfunding, you're getting a whole bunch of different people of all walks, from all across the spectrum, really wanting to publish their own books. And that's really cool. Right. It's really encouraging to see that, to see these people that, like, where were you, a few years ago? Like you said, maybe I'll do it. It was on Comixology, or through, what are they called? Space Goat? What is it?
Yeah, the company that published the original was called Space Goat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so now you're doing it through Space Goat, and now you're doing it on your own. Like, who the hell's to tell you can't do it?
Right. Well, I'll be honest with you. Even in 2015, when the first thing came out, I didn't realize it's you only know what you know, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about that. I know there's a whole profession of people who publish things. So I'm thinking, you know what? I don't have time to get into that kind of stuff. I mean, that's clearly some, eldritch, lore that you have to know in order to do your own book. But the more I learn, I mean, it's mostly just about organization. I'm a communication specialist, PR, marketing, media relations, and things like that. And I'm finding that really translates well into just talking to people about your book, getting your message out there, explaining what you're all about and what your project's all about. So.
Absolutely. And you're doing it. So you want to tell us a little bit about the new, DoorKickers 1. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So this book that is currently on Indiegogo is DoorKickers Panzer Demon. Essentially, it's a straightforward military horror action adventure. It finds the Wildfire team, which is the name of the team. DoorKickers is kind of like that's what you call guys who kick in doors in special operations. So these, the DoorKickers of Wildfire team are on the trail of a cultist sect in the Ukraine, and the deeper they get into this, the crazier it gets, and the more lethal the threat. Because that's what they specialize in. They take technology, magic items, and magic, and they use that to fight cosmic horror and supernatural threats, and people that use these types of things against the rest of the world. So but with my military background, I'm trying to bring a very realistic sense of how special operations would use this stuff if we really had it. So if you've seen the art, I'm going for that more realistic style.
Absolutely. And that's what I love myself, And I mean, I just love the subject matter of what you're doing. It's just, it's fun. And I love that you bring it in, this, like this almost this occult, like, thing going on. And with so much stuff around the world, that things that, that they're discovering, of past societies and their mythologies and things like that. And it's just, that's cool, man. That's just, wow.
Well, one of my characters, Marius, he's the combat mage of the team, and he's really steeped in Roman lore and Roman mythology and Roman magic. And some of it was BS, and some of it was real. And he's taken the real and he's applied it to the missions that he's doing now. So, you might hear him yelling some things that sound kind of Latin because, that's the magic words they used back then.
I mean, what did you do to research this, to actually bring kind of this like occult marriage with, modern day military?
I just made it all up.
Just made it all up?
That's the best.
Well, so I'll be honest with you, with the military piece, that's easy for me because I've been doing this for so long, spending time in Iraq, Afghanistan. I even made a little trip to Syria once. That was interesting. But the magic and the threat really comes from my love of like H.P. Lovecraft, the whole Cthulhu mythos, just the idea of cosmic horror, I always kind of think that the germ of the idea came not while I was reading Hellboy, but just being disappointed with Hellboy because of just how they approach some of the stuff. I'm like, it doesn't make sense why they would do this to me. That's kind of what it, and so I think that maybe that was the germ of the idea that got me to where we are today.
Actually, it's kind of funny. I was talking to Billy about it. I was like, I was looking at this, and my comment to him was, it's like Hellboy without Hellboy.
Yeah,
and that's the reference I got from it. And I'll be honest, I'm a huge fan of that concept of Hellboy. And honestly, that's why when your project came across my table, I really dug it. I like that stuff. I like that occult, paranormal.
That. Yeah, I mean, I've never been like, so I was a D&D guy back when I was a kid, and I enjoyed fantasy and I enjoy some of the books, but I've always been more of a sci-fi, more realistic, when it came to that cosmic horror, less of the fantasy, more of the real.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the things I think that I didn't click with me completely with Hellboy, was the fact that it's just a little too fantasy-ish. They're trying to tap into that, I thought, a little more than what I would have chosen. But that's the great thing about, you make your own book, you tell the story you want to hear.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And I love the idea that they are like soldiers doing this, that they're humans. That
Yeah. So just to clarify, they are not active duty members of the military. These guys are all former military, and they've now been hired by this, clandestine intelligence agency that focus specifically on containing and fighting these supernatural threats and using supernatural techniques. So, like for instance, the team leader, Bill, he's a former Delta Force guy, but if anybody read Breezy Dream, that's the 10-page preview I was giving out for free with the, and it's also the one you were talking about on Comixology.
Mm-hmm.
That's essentially the story where they recruit Bill. So you get to see him as a soldier before he becomes, one of the Wildfire team members.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. Now,
That's
let me ask
really
you something,
cool.
though. So
I fucking love this.
I do too, man, because I love anything like military. I love anything paranormal. I mean, that's half the crap we talk about. And, we got this book coming out here, So Panzer Demon, a couple comments in the chat are, what is Panzer Demon? What's a Panzer Demon?
So I broke this out. I'm going to give you two things. One is a scene when they kick in. It's essentially the last door they kick in this adventure, and literally what they see sitting in front of them is a Panzer Mark 7, Panzer Mark 6, King Tiger tank.
Nice.
And so that is the Panzer Demon, right? But okay, it's a tank. I mean, so why is it a demon, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're asking about research. One of the things that I read about is, the ability to, there's like the metal has this kind of affinity with spiritual, energy, and the ability to kind of contain it, and or so the idea is that you can take some sort of spiritual or supernatural. In this case, I've got three kind of planes of existence.
Mm-hmm.
And you can take those energies and store them inside of something that's metal. And, so to the extent that it is, nullified by that big hunk of metal, or it can possess the hunk of metal, or if you break the wards that kind of bind it to that hunk of metal, it could then escape. So that kind of gives you some of the mechanics of how the Panzer Demon will kind of wreak havoc towards the end.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, because and I use this in She is that the spirits, the samurai would they believe that that the swords, the samurai swords, actually hold the souls of departed samurai. So that's cool that there's even this like metallology type of thing going on about that it that's mixing with with folklore and mythology and the occult. I think like I said, dude, this is a brilliant idea. Brilliant.
So I'll just say that there's two characters. The first one is the Panzer Demon that has that metal affinity, and then the second is another character that I'm not going to name, but his whole existence is tied to an iron spike. So that's a little gem from the origin of one of my characters that he's one of my favorites. And I already teased a 20-page story that's already drawn, so future Kickstarter material right there, or
nice.
Indiegogo material right there. But that backstory will refer directly to that iron spike. So I'm looking forward to being able to explore this world a lot more in depth.
That's great. So what makes up your team for DoorKickers? Like who's your team that helps you put this book together?
So that's one of the biggest blessings of this whole thing is just, partially I reached out to people because I knew them. The artist, the guy who's doing all the interiors, is a cat named Ian Waryanto, and he's from Indonesia. And the reason I asked him is because I knew he was still active in comics, and I'd been friends with him on Facebook for years. And I always kind of, he did a military figure on drawing on his page one time. I said, man, we got to do something together sometime. And he said, yeah, and so it just, the stars aligned. I asked him, hey, would you be interested in this? And he's like, listen, I'm going to pay you money. So he said, yeah, absolutely. He jumped at it. And then everything else is kind of, he gave me the lead for the colorist, Farah Nurmaliza. She has done an unbelievable job on this book. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw the cover A that Ted Lehman drew, the real detailed kind of greenish blue. Yeah, that's the image right there.
Yeah.
She did the colors on that, blew me away. And Ted blew me away on this too. And I don't know, I've told the story a bunch, but it bears repeating. Ted sent me a piece of fan art, and before I'd even launched the campaign, and I was like, wow, that's really cool, man. And he said, yeah, I can do more. And he showed me a second thing, and when I saw the second thing, I hired him.
Yeah,
I want you to do the cover. You got it. And so, and sure enough, we worked through a couple of concepts, and finally he came up with this image, and he knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. Now, like, I look at this image, so obviously we've got some soldiers with, machine guns, regular equipment, and then we've got a soldier behind them, and his hand is basically
glowing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
glowing.
the pistol.
So what kind of powers are we looking at here? If you're allowed to, I don't want you to give too much away in your book, but I mean, what are we looking at as powers?
Yeah, so essentially, he is a mage, right? So he has very kind of Dungeons and Dragons kind of mage powers, right? He casts spells. They have very specific effects. For instance, there we go, the pages. So this is first page. They're getting ready to go in.
This is right here.
He's kind of charging up. And then he catches, and then the next page he casts the spell, and it's what's called a seizure spell, where he seizes everybody in the room. But if you notice, just like any kind of situation, they trip the booby trap, and that's what that guy sparking off is. The magic spell essentially trips this booby trap, and he turns into what's called a flame minion. And so the flame minion, essentially, he goes berserk, he spontaneously combusts, and then fights as long as his body has enough stuff to consume. So it like essentially burns him down to ash. So there's all kinds of stuff. And if you look, so Stillen, he's my bruiser of the group. He jumps right into the guy, so clearly he's gonna feel that one in the morning.
Yeah. So how many members are made up of this team?
So it's a 6-person team. You got Bill, the leader, Jigna, female intel specialist. Her kind of power, her magic ability is the ability to understand any language. Mm-hmm. And that's not like a mutant power that she has. That's something that she is, she had an affinity for languages as a child. The kind of, you hear about these people that learn like 6 or 7 languages.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, she's that kind of person, but then through magical study and, using, long-lasting or even permanent incantations, she has essentially got the ability to speak any language. So, like, she's the one that's reading these eldritch, scrolls and things like that and telling them what it says. You got it on the cover, the B cover. This is Narwhal. He's the artist of Earthbound. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but he is awesome. And just love this image.
Yeah. Now, explain this image, though, in your cover B.
So essentially, I told you about the flame minion, right?
Yeah.
Well, essentially, they said, hey, you guys got this. We're going to go after the target. So off panel, Stillen's jumped into it and started fighting the flame minion. So that's really what you're seeing depicted here on this cover. So
that's cool.
I kind of like showing things that maybe like a deleted scene or something like that, from the
So now you have, so this project, you have two covers. You have an A and B cover, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I was just looking down at your stretch goals, and obviously, if you were to make 18,000, I believe that was right. Yeah, 18K. You would actually do a concept gallery.
Yeah.
I think this is pretty cool, man. So tell me a little bit about that stretch goal.
Yeah, so that is, like every project that you kind of work through some of the designs and, and I'll be honest with you. So the first Comicsgate guy that I really latched onto was Mitch Brightweiser, because he used to post, 2015, 2016, that kind of frame. He was posting a lot of his sketches for the Futurist and some of the Red Rooster stuff, but it was all sketch stuff. And I kept telling him, man, screw doing a book. I just want to see your sketchbook, because I just love raw sketch, art, because it's so real and it's so, from the hand, right?
Yeah.
And so I love that stuff. My own personal collecting, I really like the original Disney hand animated, the original pencil animations.
Yeah.
So I really love that drawn from hand, not perfect, not totally clean. You can still see some blue line, that kind of stuff. I love that kind of stuff. So anyway, so we've got about 6 or 7 pages of that kind of content that I'd love to share with everybody, and so that's where I get to kind of show that behind the scenes kind of stuff in that gallery. I've got some more work to do on those stretch goals. I've been more focusing on making sure that I get funded, and we just got funded the other day. So now now that I've extended the book and we're funded, I'm gonna kind of flesh out some of those stretch goals and make them a little more obvious as to what they are. I got a couple additional ones I want to add. I think I'm going to add something at 8K and then another one at like a 12 or 13. So
nice.
Yeah, and I mean that art is just beautiful. The colors too. I mean, Farah's colors are amazing. Of the interior pages, it just. I mean, it's a fantastic book.
She absolutely gets the tone of it.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, you got your spooky images, you know what I mean? But then you got that, I mean, I just love the warm colors, especially when that dude just combusts, you know what I mean? And it's just, wow. I mean, just fantastic.
Yeah, and you gained a backer since we last checked, because I had refreshed the screen. Staring up to 136.
Thank you very much, guys.
Very cool. Yeah, man.
All right,
I mean,
thank you guys. If you were on the show and someone contributed, Scott, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I looking in your chat, I can see a lot of people that I recognize. So it's always good to see supporters out there. And one of the things that I really didn't expect, but has really taken me by surprise. I mean, maybe it shouldn't have taken me by surprise, but it's just the community, the people who those guys that literally send out retweets every day, and they create their own tweets and take an image that I've posted somewhere, and they make their own tweet talking about, and they don't get anything out of it. The only thing they get out of it is the opportunity to buy the book.
Yeah.
And that's truly what has touched me the most, has been just people with no skin in the game, really getting behind the book and helping me get the word out, to a big crowd. And Mandy, your moderator, is one of them that has just done, yeoman's work and helping spread the word.
She is fantastic. We're a huge fan of hers. I mean, when she and she is just a ray of sunshine and positive energy. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
We had so much fun with her. If you saw her when she came on. And it was just a real joy, and I love this, meeting all these new creators myself, because, I did this for, 25 years ago. I got into it, and we had a nice, fun, small club, of others that were in it with myself, me, Brian Polito, Jeff Smith, Terry Moore. And it was great. It really was great. But now I'm meeting all these people from all over the country. And we haven't yet to have anybody from over the world yet, but it's great. I can't wait to have a crowdfunding Comic-Con.
I know. That's
I know.
that would be fantastic. You know what's cool? It's like I know like you've got you're happy with your Comicsgate community, friends and stuff like that. But I mean, even beyond that, just the whole
Absolutely.
indie comics community, and yes, I'm gonna call it a community that is all supportive people because we're all doing the same thing and we're all doing it at our own cost, right? So if we can take the time, if Scott can take the time to share Nile's stuff and Nile takes the time to share Scott's stuff, I mean, we help support each other because are we competing in a market? Yes, but is there potential that we may collaborate? I mean, that's what's so great about it. There's no limits in the indie world.
No, you're absolutely right. And, Comicsgate is just one small piece of it. And I think it's important because, it kind of stands against some of the external pressures, especially that you see within the political fringe of mainstream comics. But ultimately, like Peter Smeddy is a great example of he's friendly with all kinds of Comicsgate people, but he says it himself. I'm not Comicsgate. That's not who I am. I'm Alterna Comics. We're going to do our thing. We're going to exist next to the Comicsgate creators. We're also going to exist next to other indie comics creators. And it's kind of like all the conflict is none of my business. I'm just here to make my books.
Yeah, and that's what crowdfunding comics is. We are here to support good creators like yourself. No affiliation, anything. Just support.
Well,
Our
I appreciate the
affiliation is
opportunity.
affiliating with good creators. If you're good and you got great stuff going on, we're going to support the shit out of you. We're going to have you on the show, we're going to just push. I mean, and that's what's been so great. Like Billy said, I mean, we were just meeting everyone on all sides of the field that are just putting out so many great things. I mean, this is truly a golden age of creation. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
This is the time. Anyone that's out there contemplating doing a book, grab the bull by the horns and do it. Even if you don't, if you have an hour a night to do it, do it. Just get it going because now is the time. Get your stuff out there, get your name going before this market gets flooded because this is the direction. Professionals are getting into this. Publishers are getting into this. What we're doing, we're getting noticed. We are getting noticed. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're doing it, Scott. And again, we've had people, like I said, that you like that are pro Comicsgate people, and then we have people that absolutely hate Comicsgate that are on our page. One thing that on our page, on our YouTube channel, one thing I notice is that all these people, and there's a lot of misconceptions, a lot of and there are jerks on both sides. There really is. But the cool thing is that everyone all agrees on the same thing about wanting just to create great comic books.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And every time we have on our show, and again, going back to, talking about, this sense of positive energy and this creative energy and to want to create something that is your own, that you own. You know what I mean? The next Robert Kirkman is out there. The next Jeff Smith is out there watching right now, potentially. The next Scott right here that you're here, Scotty Mack is out there doing a book. That's something that he's had a germ of an idea for years. And then he had, some kind of discouraging things, if you think about it. And it's got to be tough. Like, you come up with the idea for the first DoorKickers, right? You have your partners with this company. They go out of business. And now your property, your property's out there, and someone could be buying on a Comixology, and you're not seeing anything from it.
Yeah.
And that's really discouraging. But now,
it's really discouraging. And no, you're absolutely right, Billy.
But now look at you. You know what I mean? Now look at you. Now you're doing it. You, like you said, you're cowboying up. You know what I mean? And you're taking your own creation back and into the palm of your hands. And now you are a publisher once again. And there's one thing that brought us all here because all of us love those X-Men books. You know what I mean? If those of you who are out there were lucky enough to actually read them, or the ones that seen the films of all the stuff that came out, with the Infinity Gauntlet. What was it called? Infinity War, the movie now?
Yeah.
Man,
that was
Infinity
great
War. We knew it as the Infinity Gauntlets. You know what I mean? That's the Starlin and stuff. That's Ron Lim, and that's the stuff that we love. That's what brought us all here.
Warlock and all that kind of stuff. They never told those stories.
Well, that's why the reprints of these books are selling better than a lot of the new stuff coming out. The omnibuses, the graphic novels, the reprints,
the facsimile versions.
I mean, they're all, everyone's going back. The new readers, if they're getting into something, everyone's referring to them. Hey, you know what? Actually, read this. This came out in, 1991. Read this series here. This came out in, the late 80s, and that stuff's selling better.
What's funny is somebody was asking me, what's the last comic book you bought and you read? And I was like, well, I don't know which one the last one I bought was, but you know what the last comic book I read was? It was this one right here.
Oh, it's blurred.
Can you see it now? Oh, your software. Yeah, your software. So, it's the original X-Men stuff. I'll come back to it every 10 or 15 years and just reread it, the same way I did it as a kid. And I even read the letter pages and, that kind of stuff, because it just, part of it is a little escape back to when you're a kid. And none of us are fooling ourselves. We don't want to be kids anymore. But ultimately, it's not just the story, but it's also I don't want to say nostalgia, because that's not all of it, but just the feeling of those memories,
Yeah.
And that's very cool. Just to kind of relive that stuff, 10 minutes at a time, 15 minutes at a time, whatever. So.
Oh, definitely. And it's good to see. It's always good to go back to the things that inspired you to get into this stuff, right? The things that,
absolutely.
So for me, I don't know if you're familiar with Batman Shadow of the Bat, right? That was a series that ran for, like a decade or so. But that is what got me hardcore into comics.
Yeah.
And just looking at that art and stuff. And then, if any of you guys follow me on Facebook, I just recently did a post of, a book, someone's typical book, and then a book that Nile owned as a kid. I dissected the crap out of it. Like, anything I was into, I studied it like crazy. And, like, the books are so weathered and worn. And, but there's nothing better than going back to that. Like, if I kind of need, like, a little jump start, I'll go back to Batman Shadow of the Bat, and I start at issue number 1. And I kind of relive why I loved it, or why I still love it, and how I got into stuff,
Yeah.
But then I remembered as a kid
but you're reading it. You're also reading it from the standpoint of where you are today and the life you've lived. So, when I read these X-Men stuff, I think, maybe I don't need to be so serious about this when I write, because Chris Claremont was really able to hand wave some of this stuff. So you don't really need to get into this. So you're taking those. You're relearning some of the same lessons that you learned as a kid, but you just you didn't know you were getting the lessons as a kid, because you didn't know you were a student.
Exactly.
You were just looking for entertainment.
Yeah, and if you draw or even write, I mean, those things kind of help teach you, like, how to write, like how, following the stories. For me as an artist, I copied those images, but by copying those images, it allowed me to learn how to actually draw the human body and to draw figures, and then you take that on your own. So it's cool, like you said, it's nostalgia and it's not, right? And it's neat, because what's great about, and I'm going to go back into what you're doing now, Scott, it's great with this whole indie comic scene, because everything is new, right? Everything everyone's putting out is new, and if it's a continued project, I mean, that's just such awesome success for the creator. I mean, you're now creating a project on your own that you funded book 1 successful. You now have the funds to do book 2 even more successful, and so on and so on. You are the publisher. You hold sole rights to your product. And at that point you can, the potential to actually become a full-time creator is out there, going a crowdfunding route. I mean, and what are your thoughts on that, Scott? I mean, what are your thoughts on crowdfunding and the future of it?
So I think, first of all, crowdfunding is not for everybody, right? In the military, we had this, not for the weak or faint at heart, right? So crowdfunding and entrepreneurship as a business person it's not for the weak or faint at heart. You have, in order to be successful at this, you have to have a certain type of personality. Some people may call it like being an alpha or something like that. But followers can never be successful at this. You have to be able to be your own, engine. So Billy, you said it. The thing that I'm really learning is not about writing. I mean, the story that I wrote for Panzer Demon, it's not a super complex story, but still, it wrote itself.
Yeah.
The stuff that I'm really learning is publishing. What kind of paper do I want? Okay, well, maybe I'm not making as much money as I wanted. So if I'm going to downgrade, where do I downgrade? What are the hard choices that you have to make? Do I ask this person to take money after the campaign, or do I go ahead and pay them up front? Or, so there's the business aspect of it that's, that can be tough, and there's, as a writer, you think of you write your script, it's page 1 through page 48 and I'm done. But now I got to think about, those kind of things that the editor thought about. So does this panel look good? Does this panel flow with the next one? Did the artist take a much license over here? What does the inside cover look like? What does the back cover look like? These are all things that, it's not a problem to do it. It's just I've never had to do it before, and so what do? I get a bunch of books and I look at them and I say, what I like, and emulate the ones I like, and synthesize hopefully something new.
Mm-hmm. So Mandy Summers asks, Crowdfunding Comics, ask Scott what he thinks about the character Gambit. Are you a fan of Gambit?
Oh, Lord.
Oh, did we lose Scott? Oh, there he is.
Gambit gets no love from me.
You're not a fan of Gambit? Did he freeze up?
I think I broke up.
Oh, so you're not a fan of Gambit? Because I'm not really a fan of him either.
Well, so I thought Gambit it's like the fourth good idea after 3 much better ideas. So, it's any writer could make Gambit a good writer could make Gambit a good character, and Chris Claremont sure did some good stuff with him back in the day. But sitting next to Chris Claremont's Wolverine, why would I care about Gambit?
Yeah.
Right. Yep. Now, there's something you had mentioned about the paper stock when you were talking about, well, maybe, if depending, because again, you have to act like a businessman.
Yeah,
and
it's choices.
Maybe, the choices, like you said, paper stock choices, everybody likes the 100-pound, slick gloss coated paper, but there's something everyone should remember out there. The greatest comics ever created were printed on newsprint.
Amen, brother.
Right?
Amen.
And so, yes, if the campaigns do well and you have that extra, or you make it a part of a stretch goal or something like that, then, be at it, to make it a more prestigious format. But again, I wouldn't get hung up. And this is for people out there, because we've had people talk about this, about paper stocks and things like that. Like I said, Peter Cimetti gave me some of his books at the Terrificon last weekend. And they're gorgeous, and they're printed on newsprint.
Oh yeah,
and they look fantastic. So not everything has to cost you. I went through this with our 25th anniversary books, and we did some of the She books, and oh my God, we had great paper stocks. Anthony Delaney at Artists Express has amazing paper stocks, but they're expensive. Holy crap! Doing metal covers and and linen covers, and what did we do? We did pearlized linen cover. Holy crap! I was like, how much is this going to cost? So, and thank God, you do it at you do a low number. You do 99 of them or 20 of them or something like that, because there are completists. There are people that want that really rare stuff that you just put out there. But guys, like I said, look at that X-Men. Look at X-Men 268. Uncanny X-Men 268 newsprint, Watchmen newsprint. All those books printed on that. So don't necessarily have to go crazy making, going really high end with the stuff. You can always do a prestige format version next year on it. You know what I mean? Your next campaign. The important thing is get that damn book out there, right? That's my 2 cents. So
yeah.
Exactly. You're spot on, man. You're spot on. And if I had to do it over again, and I'll probably do this on the next campaign, is I'm going to start out not with so this is a 48-page book. The next one I want to do is I'm probably going to try to do a 64-page, book. And then it's going to start as a, saddle stitch book. And if I make it to a certain level, okay, then we'll go perfect bound, And then, and then we've got paper increase type, so literally have every $1,000 have a new stretch goal that increases the quality of the book. I feel like I owe it to my readers, when they backed DoorKickers, it's advertised as a full color, 48 page, perfect bound book. So that's what they're going to get, even though, maybe. And so this is all about those lessons that you learn. And, like I said, I'm learning like comic creator lessons, but really the lessons that I'm really learning are those business choices in how to run a campaign and how to be effective as a publisher.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's great advice. And that's one of our questions. We usually say, what would you do next time? And you answered it. So thank you.
Yeah. So how are you on? So the biggest issue we find, sorry, Billy, I cut you off. So what is the hardest thing you found so far with the crowdfunding process?
Well, I mean, it's a hard process, period. The hardest that if I had to do it all over again, I may have been I had some opportunities earlier in the year to start establishing a more like a better social media presence, i.e. maybe start my own channel or something like that. Mm-hmm. And the thing that really held me back from it was the fact that I have a lot to say. I'm a talkative guy, but it's like, what do I have to offer the community? What do I have, because I don't come from the generation that thinks that, because I'm a person, people are interested in what I have to say. If I'm going to say something, especially to a group of people who I don't necessarily know, mm-hmm. I want to have something to say. And so that stopped me from starting a YouTube channel earlier in the year. And so because of that, I didn't do it. And now I don't have the time to do it. It's one of those kind of things, if the inertia was going, from earlier in the year, I probably would have been okay. But because I didn't start it earlier, now's not the time to start it. And so hopefully within the next 6 months, I'll be able to find another good opportunity to start my own channel. And that way I've got my own dedicated audience. I've got a pretty strong Twitter game going on, but ultimately Twitter is it's not the same as having an audience that's there for your content.
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, it's fun having the show, and I think if you can get that right point where you're comfortable getting your channel going, it's definitely a good tool to have, in a marketing standpoint, and even for your fans to connect with and chat, and whatever your content is, I'm sure it'll be a fun show to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've got so my first show that I got on was Sweetcast with Clint Stoker, and he and I have done several live streams together, and I've been on the gambit of channels to include Ethan's. And so I think as people get to know me a little bit, if I were to launch a channel, I probably could guarantee 25 to 50 subscribers within the first 48 hours, which that's good because, and then that gives you that kind of beginning of an audience to start, bringing your message to them. And, with the campaign, the campaign season coming up with the presidential campaign, I may talk a little politics. I have a master's degree in international relations, so I really can get wonky about some of that stuff. So, and with my background in military, it's kind of like I'd like to get people on and talk about what's your take, Billy? What's your take on what's going on with Iran? And so, you know what I mean? It kind of brings some of those current events into the, but I wouldn't want to divorce myself from my comics. I'd want to kind of meld the two and talk about how, issues are affecting comics and how we see them. And some of that's political, and, I'm not a super judgmental guy, so I think I can thread the needle and be able to talk, different, to different types of people. So We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And people like that. You know, people like that. I mean, look how big all these talk shows are. You know what I mean? Look how big if you have a YouTube channel. If you want to get a bunch of followers, you know, and there are times that I just want to open my mouth and just start blasting. You know, and you know, we'll be talking, buddy. Scott, I want your phone number because I want to talk to you, and you'll hear me just go off, and my wife's like, "Don't you say that? Don't you say it? Just."
Hey, brother. Bring it. I especially since I've started doing the book, I've been biting my tongue and a lot of not only politics, but some of the drama that's going on inside of, you know, CG. So, you know,
if we could talk the way we talk off the air, we'd probably have 30,000 subscribers.
Oh yeah.
We would have 30,000 subscribers. Our super chats would be flowing. And,
but you know, but in the chat, Mobsy, you know, he's on to something here. Keep politics out of the comics. It should be escapist. So
correct.
The only caveat I would give to that is we all put our politics in everything we do. But the problem is when you put your politics in front of what it is you're trying to do, then that's when you lose the fight. So I'll go back to Chris Claremont, right? So that X-Men issue I held up earlier, right? Who's the leader of that team? A black female, right? And a black female immigrant is the leader of that team.
Yeah.
What came out very, very close to that? The New Mutants. Only one white guy, and everybody else are like either people of color or women from other countries. You know, so diversity was a thing back then too. But guess what? Chris Claremont cared way more about the story than he cared about any kind of diversity quotas. So we didn't even notice that stuff back then. Yeah. Because it was just, you know, it informed who he was as a writer, but ultimately he was a writer, he was not an ideologue trying to push an agenda. And that's and that's what we want, I think, in comics. I'm ready to read liberal comics all day long, but they gotta have strong stories. They gotta have strong characters. They gotta, like, you know, they gotta hold water on their own besides, you know, with their political agenda. And if you guys were to tune into my channel, that's the kind of stuff you would hear.
Yeah.
Well, we're looking forward to it. I am.
Yeah, man. Hopefully you go forward. I mean, it sounds like you probably could just get your channel going once you get the time, obviously.
Yeah.
I think after I go in demand, I think that may be the idea.
Well, you're obviously, like I said, especially, you know, that you've got your degree and everything and your experience. I mean, you're obviously a brilliant guy, you know? So, I mean, now, were you an officer?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you sound like an officer.
Well, I started enlisted back in the 90s, but, you know, OCS kind of changed my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're here, pal. I am. And thank you for your service for that, for sure, man. So, if we can have a little fun now, you know, well, does he have a video? Is there a video or anything like that we could show now?
No.
No,
you had something on there, but I can't get it to play. It says the video is not there.
Yeah, I don't understand that because it plays. Anyway, I will say that there's these guys, just to plug the videos, there's 2 videos that these guys from Nightmare Alley, that's a YouTube channel, created. So they basically took a lot of my backstory and the kind of story Bible for the book, and they adapted that into kind of a WikiLeaks kind of drib drab of secret information, but with a horror kind of aspect to it, you know, as an audio drama. So those are really cool. I've linked them in some of my tweets. I'll make sure, since I've talked about them tonight, that I'll link them again.
Now, where are those from? Because I'll try to see if I can look it up real quick so we can air it.
Yes, if you go to just search on YouTube for Nightmare Alley.
That's an awesome name for a company too. That is an awesome name.
And yeah, those guys are really good. So like Mr. What is it? This Creepy Leaks is what they call their thing instead of WikiLeaks, and like Dr. Creepy or something like, I can't remember the name, but he's the narrator of the fictional narrator of the thing. And so it's the first video is kind of long, it's 22 minutes, but you know, I'll be honest with you. I recognized the words that I wrote, but man, I couldn't stop listening to it. It was just it was
so
really
which
cool.
video do you recommend? Oh yeah, these are actually quite long.
Yeah, so yeah, these are not like teaser type things.
Yeah,
These,
no.
but the I think the best one that gives you a good, because it essentially gives the history of the organization that the DoorKickers work for. That's the 22-minute ESD. I think I can't remember the name. Yeah, it's the one right there.
Creepy Leaks ESD file.
Yeah, yeah. And I love this image that they put up on the thumbnail. It's that red. But anyway, so it talks about the history, stemming from the Victorian times as a club, that was interested in the paranormal and things like that. And so that evolved into a government committee in the after World War I. And then they supported the Allied operations against the Nazis. You've got all those occult Nazi things. Well, this is kind of like the American version of that.
Sweet.
That's so cool.
And so, yeah, Billy, you'll dig this. You give this video a listen while you're doing something, and I guarantee you'll enjoy it. And then the second video is a shorter one. But it talks about kind of the classification of paranormal creatures that the team runs across. So it's shorter, but it's a way more focused kind of a video. So
nice. Oh, you got another backer.
Yeah, I gotta check that out too. So.
All right, cool. So you got two backers with us tonight. You were at 135 when we started. You're at 137. You're at 125% funded.
Yeah, and Scott, thank you for coming on with us too. We're not done yet, but. And I know at this time we go on, it's prime time. So there's seems to be so many, other YouTube channels running, streaming at this time and doing live feeds. So, so thank you for coming on with us, because there's a lot of really fun stuff out there. And, but what's cool about our show, it seems that a lot of our viewers, people watch our show the next day or something.
Yeah.
Which is cool, and
I very rarely have caught you guys live because, exactly the reason you said. Yeah. But that's how I usually listen to you guys, is in my car coming to or from work. So,
very nice, man. We appreciate that.
So what's next?
Yes, what's next?
For me?
For you, man. For you after DoorKickers. What's next?
Hey, I've got 20 pages already done for the next book, and I've got another good 48-page idea, so that takes me to 68 pages. So I gotta make some cuts, but yeah, I think you're gonna see, assuming we hit a certain level of success. I'm expecting at least 10,000 by the end of the 60 days of the campaign. If we hit 10,000, that's the kind of first key stretch goal. And that's where we add that 10-page preview story, the Breezy Dream preview story. We're going to add that to this book as a backup. So I hope everybody, helps push that up to 10K so that we can see that story in print again.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, we'll help you too, So I just want to say, this is my son, Matthew. And Matthew, this is Scott McCullough right here. Scott, he's an Army veteran. He was in Iraq, he was in Afghanistan, and he was in Syria.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So Matthew wants to be an airborne ranger too, but I told him he's got to be an officer, and I want him to be a JAG officer.
Oh, you don't want to be a JAG officer. Nobody trusts those guys.
Yeah. I said be a JAG officer, or or join the Navy or something like that. I guess they have JAGs in the Navy too, right? There's JAG offs in the Navy, right?
Yeah.
And the Air Force too, right? They got JAG offs in the Air Force.
Oh yeah, all the services. Heck, they even got them in the Coast Guard.
There's a lot of JAG offs in the service, huh? He's not being infantry like me. Were you in what? So what was your MOS, Scott? Before you became
I was infantryman. I was infantry until after company command, and then I became a public affairs officer.
I love that. I learned about that afterwards when I was in the reserves. and that the PSYOP, psychological operations, and they were like, "Oh, you should join. You could be a 25 mic, I think it was a multimedia illustrator." Yep, and by then, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm done. I did my whole time. But I would have loved that if I'd known about that. And they were airborne units too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the what is it? There's an MPAD, 20-second MPAD, I think, at Fort Bragg is a airborne public affairs unit. So yeah, absolutely.
So well, thank you. Did you go to Benning for your when you?
Yeah, so I did IOBC. I graduated OCS in 02, like late 02, and then I went to Benning. Well, that's at Benning, and then I went straight across the street to I went to OCS, Airborne School, IOBC, so Infantry Officer Basic Course. Mm-hmm. And then I went to Ranger School after that.
All right, man. Oh, shit. Well, it's an honor to have you on, buddy. It really is.
Yeah, it is, man. Again, thank you for your service, too.
Yeah.
No problem. It's my pleasure. I loved it.
You know what's pretty cool, though, is, a lot of creators out there, I mean, a lot of them are, ex-military of some form. Yep. A lot of veterans out there are making comics.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the thing is that I'm really drawn on a lot of the skills that I learned in the Army to be successful at this, and so no, that doesn't mean I'm shooting my computer when it doesn't work. What that means is that just the basics of leadership. So in dealing with my team, tasks, the whole idea of analyzing a problem set and coming up with, okay, well, what effect do I want to get? Mm-hmm. And then what are the tasks that I have to do to get to the effect that I want? So, I mean, it's really been very helpful in coming up with this process.
Yeah, absolutely. No, definitely.
Now, where do you live?
So I'm in El Paso, Texas. I was actually right down the road from where that crazy dude shot up the Walmart.
Oh, shit, man. Phew.
And no kidding.
Oh my gosh! Now, are you planning on making any public appearances? Any shows you planning on attending?
Well, I hadn't planned on it. I mean, if something popped up here in Texas that was close enough to make it, fairly easy, I would probably go. But the problem is nothing in Texas is close to something else. Especially El Paso, man. I feel like living in El Paso is like living on an island. And we got the ocean of Mexico to the south of us, so I can see a beautiful view of Juarez when I walk out my front door.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember talking to Terry Moore one time, and Terry's down in Houston, and I was doing the show in San Antonio, with Alamo City Comic-Con, great convention. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to be at the Alamo City Comic-Con in San Antonio. You want to get together?
I love San Antonio.
Yeah, me too. Beautiful. Hill country, just gorgeous. Mm-hmm. And I said, you want to, maybe you guys come up and we'll get dinner? And he's like, are you out of your mind? do you realize how far away that is, San Antonio is to in Houston? I'm like,
yeah, I mean,
it's like 5, 6, whatever, 7, 8 hours away or more. I don't know how much. Great.
Well, El Paso, to drive to San Antonio from El Paso is a 9 to 10 hour drive.
That's like that, and that's one state.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's the big one.
I like my little state of Connecticut. I can get to everywhere in an hour.
You like little states and big taxes.
There you go.
Exactly. Oh, you want to get in that conversation? Nile and I have that, don't we, pal?
Oh my God, our taxes are horrible.
I'll send you my phone number when we're done. We can talk. We can commiserate about taxes, brother.
You got that, man. I'll do that in a minute. But people get tired of me bitching about taxes, so.
I tell you, something I wouldn't get tired of talking to you about, Billy, is, what a Billy Tucci pinup would look like in the next DoorKickers campaign.
Ooh, you know what? For your service, it would be an honor. Now, I got to tell you something I've learned, and this is up to you for sure. But and you got to do costs and plate changes, but I'm not a big fan of pinups. I don't think they really help sell a book. I think you're going to get someone to do an illustration for you, or you're going to get it, like, say you get a name artist or something. You might as well make it a cover.
Right.
You know?
Well, so, I'm always hesitant to say a cover because that always means different things to different people. So, the pinups generally tend to be simpler pieces, so they're easier to ask for, and then that's like an opening to negotiations in a way.
See
But
that?
no,
Hey,
brother, if I could get a cover from you for the next book, absolutely. I can't only imagine what your DoorKickers would look like.
dude, I'd knock the hell out of that,
insane.
man. So I'm in.
Yeah, and Scott, I'll give you my PayPal info so you can send the funds.
Yeah. Yeah, as soon as the campaign closes, they're heading out.
Oh man, Bill, you'd kill that cover, dude.
I would love it. Well, that's the stuff I love to do. Like, I did a fun Deja Thoris cover today, and I really love doing it. But man, all my books. If you look at all the books I have, man, I'd rather be drawing tiger tanks and things like that.
Right.
And like I said, DoorKickers, guys just kicking ass. I did a few years back. I had the honor of doing an illustration for a poster for a Special Forces ODA unit.
Cool.
And it was just so great, and I became friends with a bunch of the guys, and these guys are my heroes, and it's like that's my passion, that's your bucket list thing is to do stuff like that. But I guess guys like, people like me drawing the gals, I guess. So,
so Billy, I'm gonna be full, really honest with you here. I was absolutely aware of who you were back in the '90s, but I was having a on again, off again love affair with comics, so I never really picked your stuff up. That said, my girlfriend loved She back in the day, and so that's where I caught a lot of your stuff. Was like, reading the comics that she had when I went over to her place. Mostly black and white, right? Back in the day.
We did some black and whites, but we went color. We went all full color, but then we did. You do a lot of black and white books too. They were cheaper to get them out there because the comics. Like I was fortunate that She really literally just blew up, but the books would sell out. So you try to do like special editions and things like that, and it was just so much easier and cheaper to make them in black and white to get them out there instead of charging.
The thing I remember is she was very leery about letting me read. So like your book, and then who else did she liked? She was big into Kabuki, I think, and because and one of the books was I guess it was the team up that you guys did. Like it looked like it was painted or something. That was pretty sweet looking, but she would always give me shit about the fact that those are so valuable, they're so hard to find, It's not like she was going to go sell it. She just didn't want to have to find it again in perfect condition. So it was kind of funny. She's
I'm going to ask you here, in 1995, 24 years ago, we did a book called She Cyblade, and it was called Battle for the Independence. And next year's our 25th anniversary, and I spoke to Mark Silvestri, and he was very receptive about doing a sequel to that book. So basically what I want to do is I want to do the Destroy All Monsters of independent comics again that we did with the first time. I think we had 30 independent characters. So I will be approaching you to use either the team or one or two of your characters from DoorKickers. But we'll talk about that.
That would be absolutely sick. I'm down. No questions asked.
Thank you. I was thinking about the story today, and I think I've got a great idea for it, and it's a real reflection on today's independent market. And we plan on doing it for spring of 2020. So I'll let you know.
Awesome.
We'll be talking anyway because I just dig you, man. I just think you're freaking awesome.
Yeah, same here, man. I think so you see people on YouTube, you're not meeting them in real life, but you get to listen to them in a very conversational, and you get a feeling for who you would gel with. And when I kind of put together my top 5 list of shows that I wanted to do, some of it was because, hey, listen, this person has a lot of folks, but some of it was, this is just somebody I want to get to know. And you guys were definitely on that list. So I appreciate you guys having me on, and very humbled by the whole thing.
Well, dude,
we're happy to have you on.
Yeah, it's our honor. You not only, I mean, not only you, just who you are, but you've got a great property there, buddy. You really do. And
I appreciate it.
It's our honor to have you on, and we love this. And once you start your YouTube channel, right, Nile, and you're looking and seeing some of the same people that you see on other YouTube channels, it's really cool because we have this fun community of the people that come onto our page every couple of days a week. So we get to see them, and and that's how we became friends with Mandy and Brian Blevins. That two are part of the Crowdfunding Comics family, and it's great seeing the same people. Like, hey, so and so's here, Yeah. So it's a lot of fun, and it's encouraging, and again, it's cool, and we're gonna try to find a way, right, Nile, to actually start bringing some of our viewers on, that they can interact with the creator too, and
we're trying to do almost like a live call-in. And there's a few different softwares and things that I'm looking at. So if we have people in chat actually want to come in and do a live thing, then we can set that up. So I'm just trying to find out ways to make that work and whatnot. And another thing we're trying to do, like you were talking about some of the topics and stuff. Yeah, we want to getting into some of the topics, and not just interviewing guests, but start talking about some of the stuff that's going on in the industry.
Absolutely. That's what we'll be going. And we'll have guests, too, that aren't necessarily doing crowdfunded books now.
Oh, yeah. We're just going to get some awesome guys in the industry. I mean, we've got some big names lined up, and we're just going to have them on. Yeah. We'll get their take on it. What do you think of, crowdfunding and that stuff? But, we're going to highlight some of these great creators. And, I don't want to give names of guys we're talking to just in case it falls through. But, I mean, you guys are going to love who we have lined up to come on the show. And not only creators, dude. We're going to, what else do you do as a creator? So if your career keeps growing, right? Because this show is kind of like a how-to type thing. And it's, it's also to highlight, new creators, up-and-coming creators, current creators, professionals, guys that are just doing their own thing and playing by their own rules. And, so why not have creators of conventions? Because, I mean, eventually, if you want to keep growing your brand, you need to know how these conventions work. So, we're going to be getting these guys on. And, I think that's another thing that's going to, definitely help out, as people grow. And we're growing, crowdfunding comics, itself is growing in the convention scene. We'll be doing our third panel at Baltimore Comic Con this October. So we're expanding, outside of the YouTube realm as well to, get face-to-face with people, and hopefully that can expand into one day maybe there is the Crowdfunding Comics Con or something, or maybe even a meet and greet get together. Maybe we can put something together, and who knows? Sky's the limit.
I think there's a lot of business opportunities in the space. Whether it's I mean, if you could think of a marketing company specifically for crowdfunded comics that deals with independent outlets such as yours to kind of smooth out the process of getting people on. So, essentially they would help you by bringing new campaigns to you in a presentation format that allows you to say yes or no very easily. So I think, I've kind of, as I've learned about this publishing part of it, I keep thinking, well, it would sure be nice if somebody did this, or what it sure would be nice if somebody did that, So there's all kinds of opportunities, the idea of just having somebody who's not somebody who's actually involved with the community around independent comics and the crowdfunding space, who is maybe kind of a, not just fulfillment, but actually some of that publisher, because there's a lot of guys who want to just write and draw comics, but they don't want to be publishers, right. But they are forced to because of this business model. Mm-hmm. So, it's almost like some sort of, the middleman, I don't know. There's a lot of opportunities. Some really smart guys are in this space right now. And I think you're going to see a lot of people come up with a lot of cool ideas as crowdfunding comics really starts to grow and become a more mature kind of business model.
Mm.
Absolutely. Hey, man, we gotta have you on more, Scott.
Hey, I appreciate that. I mean, I'm at your beck and call, so you let me know 48 hours ahead of time, and I'm there.
I think you'd be a great guest moderator as well if you had the time. And I know everyone's busy, but you're really articulate. You're really smart. I mean, we meet guys like you. You know, we had Brian Blevins, and Peter Samedi. I mean, it's just the wealth.
Peter's great.
Yeah, the information, and you just reminded me of Peter, of someone that can maybe take over those reins and publish other people's stuff. Be like an Image Comics, but not have to deal with, with the middleman, and not have to deal with the distributors and all that stuff. And right. I mean, it's great. And Peter was on our panel 2 weeks ago in Connecticut, and he was what a wealth of information.
Oh, I mean, and the passion he has for what he does in publishing and being a creator himself. I mean, I love talking to Peter. I'm excited. I mean, we got him on. He'll be on this Thursday. We have him back on for his second appearance on the show. And I mean, that's what's great about doing this too, is like, it doesn't, like Scott, you don't just have to come on once, because this is such an ever expanding thing. And you can just keep talking processes and ideas and just hashing out, because all we can all do is get better. If we're getting worse, then it's time to retire. Time to retire crowdfunding wings.
The cool thing about your show is that you have a lot of options, beyond just the, having guys like me on to talk about our projects. I mean, I'd love to see some, like digital panels and things like that. Maybe not done in a live format, but done, that way you could have that kind of interplay, because if you've got a moderator and 4 or 5 good guests, I mean, while that cuts the chat out, man, you could really still have a good transfer of ideas to whoever decides to listen to that. And while it may not be of mainstream value as far as building audience or just getting views, man, the creators within this space really could use some resources like that to just go to and just soak up the knowledge of all these great guys.
Yeah, and that's actually we are in the process of scheduling those. We are and they're going to be live panels because we want questions, we are going to encourage, having that many people there. I mean, I'm going to try to encourage the super chats on that, not only because it allows us to make some money to keep buying equipment that we're using. I mean, none of this stuff's free, right? You only want to make the production better. But also having that many people on, and hopefully we get the viewership, because I'd really like to do those panels, and I'd like to see 300 or 400 people in the current viewers. I want to put together true virtual panels that are live, so people can ask. And obviously the only way we can get to their questions is if they stick up at the top or they come into that thing. So I mean, that is in the works. How-to videos are in the works. I'm actually currently working, just as a little sneak peek for everyone, I'm working on like how-to videos. So Google Hangouts is gone. Your options for good production videos, if you want to do channels, is personally my favorite is OBS, because it's literally an open source. There's other stuff out there, but you can't do what you can do with OBS for free, because the software doesn't cost anything. So I'm going to be doing tutorial videos, to help other creators out. Not going to give away all my secrets, but enough to get everyone started and they can figure out stuff, on their own. But we're also going to be doing, crowdfunding comics episodes that are specific to, let's say, just shipping, right? And we'll get certain creators on. We'll talk about shipping. We'll have episodes on about. Yep.
Nobody's going to burn up the internet doing those kind of videos, but man, those are important kind of resources to have available. I mean, and I can't remember the name of the guy. He's like one of the OGs of crowdfunding comics. I can't remember his name, but he's got several kind of how-to videos on crowdfunding comics, and all of them have like over 20,000, 30,000 views, because they're evergreen. And unless something really changes in the space, then those videos are good, well into the future. So yeah, I totally encourage you guys to do that.
And then we're actually doing, and now we're getting to the point where I can put this together, one of our first virtual panels, because a lot of you guys that are, first time crowdfunders. I'm putting a couple Kickstarter, first timers, and a couple Indiegogo first timers, and I want to do, get that panel set up because a lot of campaigns are coming to an end, and these are guests of ours, and I'm going to wait till they go through the fulfillment process, and once they're done with that, we're going to get them on and just recap their campaign. All right, you finished your campaign. Guest A, are you doing another one? Nope, that was good enough for me. Guest B, are you doing it? Yup, and I did with this. I'm going to stick with this, and I think it'd be good just to get that kind of recap of first timers.
Well, I think, I've done my analysis. I think Indiegogo is the superior platform for what we're doing. That being said, there are a lot of people that are just on Kickstarter, just a lot of audience type folks. Hello?
Yeah, did we all get lost, or I'm on?
No, we're here.
What happened? Stop.
Mine did that a while back too.
Your YouTube stopped? I don't know. It's still playing back.
My YouTube went out. Let me see what that is. Oh no! Wait a minute. Yeah, you have Adam Post on now.
What?
Yeah, when you had Adam on.
Did you hit something?
I think our channel.
No, we're still live, man.
You sure? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened then. That was weird. Was it just me or you guys?
Yeah, we're still live.
Yeah, we're still live.
I just checked my YouTube. Yeah, we're still live.
Yeah, I got the whole control center thing here. So.
And Mandy's in the chat saying we're big old boomers. Wondering if we're still live. So.
Well, I'm watching on my TV, so that's what I do. Yeah. I have the TV going, and then I have the OBS over here. So
I will though. I mean, Scott, has been great, but we are at that hour and a half point. So what I'd love to do is get into, we got some crowdfunding calls as we usually do. We've had a couple of people reaching out. Everyone wants to get on the show. We got emails constantly. We're scheduled out. What are we now? Approaching December, I think, with up-and-coming projects, things that are going on, special guests, and all that stuff. But we still have room for some of the things we talked about in this schedule. So you will be seeing some of those shows. But I'd love to start off with our first crowdfunding call-out, which is going to be, and maybe you guys have seen this one, Pillowman and Blanketboy by Sean Davis. So I'm going to play the video for you guys. Now, Scott, when I play the video, you won't hear it on our end, but our viewers definitely will.
All right.
Guys, Pillowman and Blanketboy, maximum velocity, $582 are currently out there, 19% of 3,000. They have 10 days to go. Can we make it happen for Pillowboy and Blanket, or Pillowman and Blanketboy? So yeah, guys, check that out. And
looks like a fun book.
Yeah, it does look like a fun book. It's pretty interesting. So we've got another. So I discovered this today. So this is the next crowdfunding call. This is a Kickstarter, and I was like, that name looks familiar, and it actually happens to be a friend of mine, John Rodriguez, and he's a very talented illustrator. So I'm going to bring this up for you guys. This is Mad Gasser of Mattoon #1. I think it's pronounced Mattoon.
That's an awesome name.
It is, right? But it's like, so he just launched. He had a goal of 1,000. He's already reached his goal. He's got 31 backers. He's at $1,171. It's a thriller, but it's very unique. So I really encourage you guys, check this out. I love his stylized artwork. And there's an image on his Facebook I saw today that his character design is awesome. Like
that art is amazing.
Check this out, guys.
I don't think we have enough juice.
Will you be quiet? It'll be enough.
That's all of it. We should hurry. I don't think he'll be down for long.
Will you stop worrying and let me work?
Do we get paid for half a head?
No.
Not even half?
No.
Guys, that is Mad Gasser of Mattoon.
Bro, that art is amazing.
The art is great. When you guys get a chance, because I know you can't hear the sound on our end, but that is sick. Like, it's just so weird and intriguing. Like, weird in a good way. I shouldn't say weird in a bad way, but so this is by John Rodriguez. So check it out. And then last, I want to give a shout out because we've got Vampirella. Indiegogo exclusive by an up-and-coming artist. You know, a lot of people say he's kind of a pain on the scene, kind of rough around the edges. You know, you definitely don't want to meet him in a bar. You might get into a little scuffle. But by this guy named Billy Tucci? Is it Billy Tucci?
The young Billy Tucci.
We're going to do a real push on that too, because it wasn't my campaign, and I think we're going to have a show on how to launch a Kickstarter campaign, okay?
Yes. But we'll digress for a minute, and we're going to play the video here. Have we ever played the video for this?
I don't think so.
Is there a video? Or is there
Sir,
just
is it okay?
Oh, there is.
All right.
Hello everyone, Billy Tucci here, and I am so proud to announce my variant cover for Vampirella Seduction of the Innocent #1. Now, this isn't any special variant cover, but this is a co-sponsored Crusade Comics and Dynamite Entertainment exclusive cover, which not only celebrates Vampirella's 50th anniversary, but also the 25th anniversary of my own creation, She. I drew my first Vampirella cover back in 1995, and I've had the honor to be associated with the character many times since I first broke into comics over 25 years ago. With Seduction of the Innocent, Dynamite has brought on the legendary Christopher Priest to bring Vampirella back to her glorious roots of 50 years ago, while adding a new, sinister, and sensual twist not seen in the comic in years. And the best part is, each and every one of these extremely limited edition comics have already been printed. That's right, they are all done and printed, which means that they will be shipped to you within 10 days of this Indiegogo campaign ending. And if you'd like, I'll even sign each and every one of them for you. So on behalf of myself, colorist Wes Hartman, Crusade Comics, and Dynamite Entertainment, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for 25 wonderful years in the comics industry. And I'd love to wish a very, very happy and big 50th anniversary to Vampirella. Thank you all. Please support our campaign. Get a hold of these original books. They're going to go fast. Peace, love, Vampirella. Thank you.
There you have it. Someone just start a boat? Did you guys hear that? What was that?
Yeah.
You got a fan running or something, Billy?
It's not me. Not on my end. It sounded like a motorcycle or something.
Scott.
Yeah, that's weird.
Scoot.
Oh, well.
The only thing I did
you,
is laugh.
Scoot. Yeah, guys, so check it out if you haven't backed it yet. We're going to be doing a big push on this. Maybe we'll do a telethon. I think we're gonna do a telethon, Billy.
I think so. I think we'll do something fun with it. You know, it's a fun book. We had a few of them at San Diego, and they blew out. And they're like, well, why don't we put these on Indiegogo and sell them to the people who couldn't make it to San Diego? So I was like, okay. But, you know, so that's let's talk about that for our next show. And we'll figure something out with that one. We'll push that big time. Because it's a really gorgeous book. It really is.
It is.
Not minding my cover, but the book is just a gorgeous, great read.
Mm-hmm.
So Vampirella is back and in a big, fun way. And the way Vampirella was supposed to be. Always. So.
She's one sultry vixen.
Yes.
I know these aren't scheduled, but is there any way I can just shout out two campaigns real quick?
Sure.
Absolutely.
One, I know the guys, and that's Magic Cop. It's kind of like a Miami Vice meets. I think that looks like a really fun campaign, and I did a little DoorKickers promo tweet with those guys because they've got a panel where they're kicking down a door. So I was like, "Welcome to the Jungle Boys," and I put the both of the logos on the image. So those guys are really cool. And then the second one
Philip. We got to get Philip on. He's a great young creator. Did you get to meet him, Scott?
Yeah, we were on Ethan's channel. I think it was Ethan's channel together. But yeah, it was him and his brother. Yeah. And we're working on another promo piece, to kind of tie DoorKickers and that book together, because there's just some fun kind of parallels. So I'm looking forward to getting to know those guys a little better. And the second one is I don't know these. Well, I do know them because I'm in a DM room with one of them, but I haven't talked with this guy. But it's Grom. Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, and the art on that just looks sick.
That came out like a day ago, right?
Yeah, that's right. They're already sitting at $2,100. So
nice.
That book looks really good. It's kind of like a Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles meets like Alien Legion.
Yeah.
So those are the two that are really kind of hit my.
Can you find that, Nile? Can you find that campaign?
I don't even know how to. What's it called? What's the Grom? What?
Grom.
Well, if you go to it's on the front page of if you go to Indiegogo under the comics section.
Are they up there?
Yeah.
All right. I'll pop in real quick and see what we got. I won't bore everyone with me exploring. Please talk amongst yourselves. What's your favorite?
So Billy,
I like orange.
Billy, what years were you in the military? In the Army?
I went in 1990.
90.
Yeah, 19. I graduated from jump school on August 14th. So I did, the whole thing at Fort Benning at Sand Hill.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then I was all guard and reserves, and guess my claim to fame is when we were mobilized during the Gulf War. We were sent out I was LRSD, if you know what that is.
Oh yeah, LRSD. Yeah, LRSD. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we did, and we got mobilized during the Gulf War. Spent the whole time out in NTC, 5 weeks, I think. Mm-hmm. But it was great. I loved it, and I just loved I loved the guard. I love the reserves, and I would have maybe made a career out of it if active career, regular Army, if the comics would take off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I found it.
You found it?
I found it, Billy. This looks awesome.
Oh, let's play.
I told you the art is sick.
Oh my gosh! Before we play the video, look at this art. So you got Bash, Mona Lisa, Ripple, Burning Rose, Rosie's the ship.
Nice.
And look at this cover here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
Wow. Yeah, I know this just launched. I saw some, on Twitter. A couple of guys were promoting it.
Yeah, I've been retweeting it. Like I said, I'm in a DM room with one of the creators. And
we gotta get these guys on. Very cool. So you've been chatting with them? Scott?
Yeah, I've been retweeting their stuff and just kind of helping them move the needle a little bit on it. So
yeah, let's play this video here. Let's see what we got. was great.
What's going on, guys? Gilbert Del Trez here with you. I want you guys to know that I am so excited about my new campaign, Galactic Rodents of Mayhem. Bada boom. Basically, it's everything I loved in comics, all the goodness that I remember growing up as a kid. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Star
You get a
Wars, video game
DoorKickers ad
culture,
made.
everything is literally smash rolled into this concept featuring capybara bounty hunters.
They had a straight
That's
up
right,
theme
guys.
song.
Capybaras are back. Thanks, of course, to Sebastian Navis, my artist, who put me on the awareness of their existence. I fell in love, and I'm like,
I actually
this
haven't
is how
watched
we're
the
going to
video
bring the
yet, so
fun
I'm gonna
back
have
to
to check this
comics.
out.
You guys
So,
need to watch
guys,
the
we
videos.
need to get
The
this
theme
campaign
song is
rolling.
awesome.
The only way this book could actually come to fruition is through your support. Please think about backing. Definitely share if you can. We have a lot in store, and we're hoping we can get that done. We need your support to make it happen. The team is ready. They're in the wings, ready to get pumped up to start working on these pages. But again, we need you guys to make this happen. So yes, we have a lofty goal, but as they always say, either go big or go home. We're not going home yet. I'm putting everything on the line for you guys. We got an awesome 3-page pitch. Check it out. It's the little 3-page story that shows you a little bit about the characters, a little bit about the universe. Now picture that across 104 pages. If you love our cover, it's the same team going to be doing the interiors. It's going to be great. It's going to be wild. It's going to be adrenaline-filled, high-octane. Bringing the anthropomorphic fun back. Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, guys. Please think about backing. We can't do it without you. Boom.
All right, guys, that's the Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, brought to you by Scott.
Nice.
Hey man, I'm always happy to spread the word for guys.
Excellent. All right, man, Scott, it's been a great night. As always, you have been a guest on the show. That makes you part of the crowdfunding family, my friend. We hope to see more of you, on Twitter, in the chats, hopefully back on the show sometime. And, we will definitely be in touch with you. I do just want to let you guys know tomorrow night we'll be going live with episode 47 with T. Marshall and Rod Looper going through their new Indiegogo for Blue Bastion. So check that out tomorrow night at 9. And Scott, man, thank you so much for being on.
Hey, no problem. Thanks you for having me.
Scott, it's been a real honor, buddy, and like I said, glad you're here, man. Thanks for your service, everything like that, and like I said, welcome home. Glad you're here, pal.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm doing a cover for you, or a
Dude.
up if you want.
Absolutely. No, we'll do a cover. I wouldn't have it any other way.
If you'll have
There
me,
you
my
go.
friend. I'm just sad that you live, all the way in the great state of Texas.
Yeah, I'll move next year.
I think we'll all come down there and see you.
All right, guys. All right, everyone. We will see you tomorrow night with our other great guests. And also, Peter Cimetti will be on Thursday. So we will be discussing his Alternoween, which if you haven't checked it out, get on Indiegogo and check out Alternoween. All right, Mr. Tucci. I think it's
Scala,
time to
my
sign
brother.
off.
Matthew,
And
say
Mr.
goodbye.
Matthew.
Bye, y'all.
Goodbye.
Thank
Matthew.
you for having me.
Bye, Scott. Thank you, buddy. See you guys tomorrow.
All right, have a good night, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow. Hey guys, thanks again for tuning into Crowdfunding Comics. We look forward to hanging out with all of our crowdfunding fans every time we go live. And don't forget to click the link below and subscribe to our channel. And there's a little bell, you may want to hit that too. This way you get all the great notifications when we go live and when we upload some awesome content. You want to follow us? Sure, go right ahead at Twitter at CrowdFundComics with an X, Instagram Crowdfunding Comics, and Facebook at Crowdfunding Comics. Till next time, crowdfunding fans, we'll see you soon.